Now let's move on to the next panel discussion. It's all about television growing stronger and stronger. And for this, let's invite the moderator and panelists onto the dais. We have as moderator Mr. Uday Mohan, COO of Havas Media India. Yes, inviting you onto the stage, please. Under his leadership, Havas Media India has seen significant growth. His insights on digital transformation and consumer behavior will enlighten attendees. And let's invite the moderators, Mr. Arjun Bhatia, CMO Matrimony.com Limited. So yeah, let's invite the panelist. Moderator we have as Mr. Uday Mohan is the moderator, and the panelist Mr. Arjun Bhatia, Mr. Ajay Varghese, Senior VP Investment, Omnicom Media Group, Mr. Puneet Kusumbia, Head Marketing, Heritage Food Limited, Mr. C. Sharat Mohan, GM, Sales and Marketing, Pushpit Steels, and Mr. Kishan Kumar MS, Executive Director, Asianet Channel Business. And Mr. Puneet is joining online for this panel discussion.
Thanks a lot, Shankar, for this opportunity and a great day so far. A lot of interesting sessions that have, and we will take forward the same topic. So basically, it's more about best marketing practices in the regional domain. And what the way we are going to be looking at this is how a lot of us have used television and how have we used the best marketing practices in terms of television in your respective domain. And I have a very, very interesting panel. So I have two brand custodians, one person from a media agency and one person from a broadcasting side. So I think we'll get a interesting. I want you to focus on television, right? And how in the last few years is your experience as far as television is concerned from driving a brand experience, considering the fact that in this day and age we always talk about digital overtaking television, death of television, and now who watches television and things like that. So how would you?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for having me here, Shankar. Thanks having me here, Bharat. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Arjun, head marketing at matrimony.com. Specifically to your question, Uday, see, while in the last 4-5 years there has been a lot of buzz on digital, but the fact of the matter is, if you are looking at an audience which is of a certain size and cutting across different different tiers, what I mean is metro, non-metro, tier 2, tier 3 and all, you need to go scale when it comes to brand building. So TV still remains the de facto because of that. In the last 3-4 years, we have also launched some new brands within the matrimony.com portfolio. And the only way to get scale, and that credibility and trust was going TV. Of course, digital ads on it, it's always incremental. But if you are a big brand or you're reaching out to an audience which is larger in size, at some point of time you have to look at TV. Depends on the organization, the objectives, and all of that. Yeah.
Moving on to you, Sharath. I mean, you handle a very, very interesting and different category, right? So why don't you just first tell us about the category that you manage and how has TV helped?
So, hi, good evening, everyone. So I handle building material category. So I work in companies like Ultratech, Dalmia, JP, and now last 10 years I'm into steel business, TMT bars. Okay, if you see, everyone said that influencers marketing is picking up in digital and all. This category itself is very different. I mean, the end user do not know what brand to purchase. The end user, whom I mean, is the guy who who constructs or builds his own home. Okay, he's the end user. But if you see the building material category, Fevicol is there, your cement, steel, and you take more than 50 building material products, influences for one end user. It's very difficult decision for him to think which brand he has to choose. But TV as a medium is very dominant in terms of brand reach and for instance, many of the dealers still today When we are in market, they ask, sir, are you advertising in television? So that is a kind of a reach. TV as a medium for especially building material in South India has contributed more. And moreover, if you see, this is a very tricky industry where the competition is intense. Unlike your FMCG or your pharma, more than 70 players. I'm talking only about Tamil Nadu. More than 70 players are there in TMT segment. And if you take cement as a category, now the consolidation has begun. The big Bs are taking over the regional players. But here, steel, it is not that easy because a steel, if you have 150 crores of investment, you can start your own manufacturing unit. Okay, so that the number of players are more here, and each is like Sharon, Soran, Pandian. They have a cluster-wise dominance. Suppose if I take Chennai as a market, a dominant brand in Chennai may be a known brand in Trichy. Okay, if I enter Trichy, there will be another brand called Agni, for example. He is a known brand in Chennai. So, the consolidation will never happen in steel as for next 10 years. But what happens, TV as a medium helps them to have a greater spread. Suppose a brand which is servicing in around cluster of Tiruchi, Perambulur, Ariyalur, the visibility for him to appoint a dealer in Chennai for his expansion, TV is a main medium for them. Though digital, yes, as sir rightly mentioned, digital is evolving. He represents a digital platform. He does business through uh, to e-commerce, but still his reach is more in TV. As far as building material is concerned, 50 products together makes a home. Okay, so it is very difficult from the manufacturer. The product doesn't go to the end user directly. There is a channel in between. The dealer is there, a distributor is there. From the distributor, it goes to the influencers. In rural areas, masons dominate the decision making process. Okay, in urban areas, engineers dominate. These are the real influencers. For us, if we want to do anything on the influencer marketing, we'll have to focus only on these influencers who are the masons, contractors, engineers. Okay. And last choice, there's no other option. The hard-earned money of the end user, he is the one who pays for the steel or for the cement he procures. So the decision making 10 years back to own a house or to build a house, it's more a male TG. 30 plus men is the TG for anyone. Today, the scenario has changed. The consumer behavior has changed. The TG has shifted from men to women, now children. Okay. You can ask me how children is part of the influencer. Children are deciding what kind of a paint they require for their room. Okay, so that decision, children is being given preference. Okay, women, how aesthetically or modular kitchen should be. Okay, so men now has become a investor only. Okay, so the transition on the consumer behavior has drastically changed in last 10 years, and hopefully that is how the industry is evolving. And I think in each category also the influencer will be keeping on changing or updating.
Great, thanks. So basically, the two buzzwords, if I can say, is basically scale and credibility. Those are, I think, the two key buzzwords. In the meantime, Ajay, the next question I wanted to ask to you was, this is more from a media perspective, from a planning perspective. It's very easy to plan across the HSM, right? But the South as a market has its own challenges, right? I mean, each state has its own set of channels, set of media. So how do you go around optimizing it? How do you go around? What's the process? How do you do this?
Good afternoon. My name is Ajay Varghese. I'm part of the Omnicom Media Group. Thank you, Shankar, for inviting me for this particular summit. This is my first summit. I'll try to answer from a media parlance. Okay, I mean, you rightly said that, South, I heard someone saying that, every South, it's a different country in itself. It's a nightmare when it comes to planning specifically in, say, TNLP. One needs to be really meticulous. So, the good old days, as we say, appointment viewing, in most of the South state, the appointment is quite high because of the mix of programming in prime time and afternoon. So for advertisers, that's a very good opportunity because they get quick reach in a very short time. That is one of the other big factors of South.
Puneet, are you able to hear us? And let's see if we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Great, great. And So I think just coming back to what I had asked the two other panelists who are basically brand custodians. I mean, we just wanted to hear from you. Your experience as a brand custodian. How has your experience been? As how has TV helped you in building your brand over the past few years? And if there are any interesting anecdotes or case studies that you can share, that will be great.
I think, first of all, thanks for having me here, Uday and Shankar and the entire SIMA team. I'm glad that I'm here at least online, and I would have loved to have been there physically as well. So my apologies as well to the viewers and listeners. Okay, so coming to the point that you were asking, I think TV still continues to be the largest media in terms of cost per reach. So it is the best cost per reach media, and even the quality of media is better than I would say other media that I have worked on. So whether it is the internet, digital, or other media that we all worked on, radio, print, and others, right? I think the differentiation that TV offers is that of appointment viewership, right? And because of the appointment viewership, the quality of recall that happens through TV is quite good. So I can give you one case in point.
Arjun, I just wanted to come back to you. So I think we were discussing about the quality versus quantity, right? And I think that's the point that Puneet was trying to bring up. So as a advertiser, what would you be looking at? Would you focus on quantity or quality? And I think that's the point that he was making.
So see, in our case, obviously, I can't comment on others, but quality is very, very critical because when it comes to matchmaking, we while we are serving a very large audience, as I was saying earlier, metro, non-metro, but we also have to be very cognizant that we are going out to singles who are looking to get married, and when it specifically comes to TV, we look at the viewing behavior, and most of the singles nowadays are either working or they are maybe into their higher studies and all. So quality programming is important. So there is always this debate whether we should take non-prime time, prime time, should it be weekends, the type of genre that we are doing, is it news, is it general entertainment, is it music and all. So all these parameters come in a lot for us. We have to bring down our cost. At times we have experimented with higher non-prime time prime time ratio, but it never works for us. So might as well, if you're spend on quality. In our case it has a different meaning, that's why I'm saying quality from our context, rather than burning and then not getting the ROI on that. So that's the view I have.
Sure. Go ahead, Puneet.
Because I was just making that same point. I think I was listening to my co-panelist as well. What I was trying to say that is the quality of appointment viewership actually gives a very strong. So, for example, when I see an ad on television, I'm still okay to see an ad, while in the internet or the digital media, it's an intervention, right, or interruption. So, which is where I think the quality really goes up, and to the point of prime time, non-prime time versus first in the break, and all those things. Obviously, we have a very clear parameter given to the agency in terms of what is the minimum prime time ratio we need, which are the top 10, top 15 programs we need to be available on. Because for us, quality matters. We don't even bother too much about the ACT. For example, our ACTs will be one of the highest in the industry, or our category for sure. But we do rely on TV as a media to reach out to the masses and create a sort of a narrative which in a traditional style really works for our brands and the growth.
Sure. So I'll just stick with you before we lose you again. So I'll just ask a follow-up question. In terms of you both talked about the quality of the thing. So what I wanted to understand was there's the user-generated content which is there across platforms versus the content which is generated on television, which is professionally developed, professionally shot. So, what's your perspective on this? What's the kind of balance that you would want to take? Puneet, you can take this first, and then we can come back to
Yeah,
Arjun.
yeah. So I think our approach, Uday, to this has been for every category or every communication that we plan. In the strategy, we have a clear messaging house. And when I say what I mean by messaging house is, we've got clearly allocated messages for each media. So, for example, if I'm taking television, I wanted to drive an attitude change, for example, in case of a certain product that I'm trying to advertise. So I will do a attitude change through communication and try that through communication. While if I have to build ease of cooking, say for example paneer, which is a difficult one in South Indian households inside the home. So I will create easy recipes, and therefore all the influencer and cooking and all those recipes will go online or digital. So there I can do 20, 30 recipes, but my narrative of driving attitude change will continue to be driven by what I call as a real game changer media, which is TV. So that's the broad approach that we take, and therefore user generated content also helps in driving some of these messages, whether it is ease of cooking or if there is a peer-to-peer communication that I need to do. For example, a mom needs to tell a mom that paneer is actually easy to cook in the South Indian household with the recipe, with the masalas that you have available in the kitchen. So I think that kind of a communication we tried and do through influencer, a mom influencer community marketing kind of a thing. But it's always a piece of messaging house and role of media clearly defined. So and that's very clear in our thinking. That's how we drive it actually.
So I'll keep it quick. The way we see, brand communication or this UGC generated influencer communication, we have broadly two ways of seeing it. One is what is the brand speak and what is the consumer speak. Both are critical. Brand speak is important when you are going to give a particular message, about your brand. What are its USPs, differentiation, or distinct, qualities about your product or your service. So obviously that is produced and then comes on expensive media. When it comes to consumer speak, why that is also important, because nowadays with influencers coming, and this whole attitude of consumers also feeling that brands are over promising. So it is important that I'm also seeing someone just like me or someone who's a little neutral also talking about the product from his own experience, which we call as consumer speak. So consumer speak, which can be influencers or even customer testimonials, is something that we also do a lot. And also, making brand films or communication is expensive. You can have depending upon again the industry, you'll probably have a within a season you'll have once, or in a year you'll have 2 or 3 bursts that are happening. But then how do you further amplify that message? So that's when these influencers or digital channels come in, your customer testimonials come in. So that's the way we try to kind of balance between them.
Kishan, let's get in your perspective here and you have been earlier in working in an agency and now you moved to the other side, right, the broadcaster side. So I specifically wanted to, and since we are in the South, wanted to specifically talk about and to get your perspective on the impact shows. The impact shows has a huge impact on the southern channels, right? So tell us a bit about how is it different from other markets, from the HSM market? What works, and I mean, are there any interesting examples of impact shows being taken which are beyond just regular advertising? Any interesting examples?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Shankar Bharat. I've after 18 years in an agency side. I've come to the broadcast side. I've been around for 2.5 years, and I'm still learning. But television and the faith on television in the first 18 years versus the last 2.5 years has been gone considerably up, because I've now been up close. So television, I strongly believe that is the biggest escape mechanism to the average Indian, right, wherever they are, whether they're in the north or in the south, right? Because you finish a very hard day's work and then you come back and that's your escape route, right? But the regular programming versus the impact, the only difference is that you go out and eat in a certain good restaurants once in a while you normally every day you eat food at home, right, which is your regular programming. You have your daily soap and your regular programs and all of that, and the impact is something which is the special treatment that you want to give yourself, right? And that's the kind of, whether it is reality shows, whether it is the premiere of movies or non-fiction and all of that. So in South, and especially I come from a network where there is a huge emphasis on content that works very regionally for all the markets. So for example, the couple of examples that I would like to take is, one is Big Boss. So we do Big Boss in 3 of the 4 South Indian languages, whether it is Telugu, Tamil or Malayalam. And that's one such an impact property which kind of people really look forward to every year. For advertisers and brands, it actually moves both basic top of mind measures or even intent to purchase measures. So for example, in the last season, after we finished the Tamil and the Malayalam Big Boss, we did a research to find out that Toma actually increased by about 57% on an average for brands, and intent to purchase actually moved roughly around 33% for brands. Even in personal, even in a category like personal care, the Toma increased by almost 50%. So, and what it does is it actually connects you with your audience, because it's a show that comes every single day for 100 days with a lot of action around it, right? So it helps you to be far more emotionally connected, because what happens is that finally all purchases are emotional purchases, right? And when you are connected to a show which is far more emotional, then the 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 likelihood that it will convert your brand to purchase is far higher. So that's one example that I wanted to give, which is on Big Boss. And we have had instances. For example, we have had a brand called Atomberg, which partnered with us in last season in Malayalam, and over the last 2 years, because of the association with such impact properties, they have been able to become the number one player in Kerala in their category. And these are all things which really kind of helps you. The other example, the other show that I would like to give an example is a reality show called Star Singer, which is a music reality show which is in the 9th season in Kerala. And one of our lead sponsors was a regional, actually local brand called QT, which is a beauty soap brand, right? Now imagine that's a category, and I worked on brands like Wipro and all of that in my erstwhile days, and I know soap is a really hard fought category in Kerala, and QT the beauty soap is currently the biggest. The largest brand when it comes to rural Kerala, and it almost has a share which is much bigger than Unilever, ITC, Wipro, that behemoths who are playing in that category. So, and purely because they have been associating with the impact shows. So, there is a lot of merit that comes because there is a larger emotional connect and engagement on these shows.
So I'll take this to you, Sharath, in terms of, so it's always said that attention levels in a linear television is far more higher, and which is what he's been also saying from an impact perspective. So what's your point? What's your take on this?
Perfectly agree with him. As far as building material industry is concerned, we have, I mean, when I was with ARS, we did one. We had I mean, as you everybody know, TV is a high consuming budget. Okay, so what we did a short impact campaign. Okay, we did it with Sun TV on Sunday evening movie show. We blocked that entire thing and we linked that to a digital platform. We ran a contest. It's just 3 day activity. Okay, we spent only 3 days ka money. Okay, we had a budget constraint that this is just post COVID. Okay, so what happened? We linked that the contest to a digital platform where we during the there was a small question from the ad. We will tell you watch this ad on this particular program, and you will win diamonds. Diamonds was the campaign. So we launched 5TD grade. So D is related to diamonds. So to hit the minds of the end users, what we thought we should run a different campaign. In which media we thought, okay, TV will have a bigger reach. Obviously, it did well. We got close to 1 lakh entries from the same family. 4 people will be contesting. We shortlisted that also. So quality close to 1.5 lakhs was the entry, and the impact was 1 lakh people genuinely watched that film. Okay, so we were able to track that activity also. So we didn't rely on back numbers. We experimented it in TV, and we got a good result.
I'll continue with this thing in terms of evaluating the effectiveness of the TV campaign, and I think you've given one example. So, Puneet, how do you, from your perspective, evaluate that? And I'll throw that same question to you also, Ajay, after Puneet answers. In terms of from your perspective, Puneet, how do you evaluate the TV campaigns?
So we look at the full range of measures and metrics which are available, right from the brand health tracks. So the health tracks help us to understand the improvement in awareness levels, whether it's top of mind has gone up, trials have gone up, or retainership has gone up. So some of those things we understand from there. The second thing we do is we track the measures which we are driving. So suppose if we are driving a particular measure and those 3-4 key measures which are more attitudinal in the nature, we try and see the score movement on them. That's the second thing. So that's purely creative and media kind of a judgment. But beyond that, I think business doesn't end there, and therefore comes the measures like market share delta. So what is the market share delta pre, during, and post? I think that's the way we evaluate. And lastly, of course, sales. So sales impact. While it is very difficult to attribute 100% of that to a particular campaign, but still, when you see it in a combination of all these factors, you'll be able to take a judgment. Okay, if there is some impact or not, and at least you'll understand if there is a thing which was missing from the execution piece on the ground, which we can pick up the next time we do a campaign. So these learnings actually share very collaboratively with our team, whether it's a sales team or the trade marketing team, and we build a narrative and we build the entire picture, which is clear to all of us that it has worked or not worked and what can be done to improve further. I think that's the way we operate, Uday.
Sure, thanks. Ajay.
So from a media standpoint, there are two metrics which can be done. One is obviously the traditional metric, which is basically your GRP, reach, and CPRP for your so-called ROI metrics. The other one is your business metric, which Mohan just said in terms of market share, sales, and customer acquisition. See, most of the categories, it is a blend of, say, 70-30 ratio when it comes to traditional versus business metrics. But there are certain categories which give more weightages to your business metric. Like, there are clients like in our own system like Apple and, say, Apple, which give more weightages to your business metric, which is basically client acquisition and stuff like that. So here comes that whole discussion of quality versus quantity. So, but this is generally the two metrics that we usually evaluate. And
Sure, great. So, what I wanted to ask you, because you have a hell lot of data, right? Considering you are ultimately you have the users coming into your platform, so you are able to kind of collect a lot of data, right? A lot of digital signals are able. So, is there a way where you are able to kind of also link, the data that is available with you with the performance of television? Is there something you do?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah. So we do that. So specifically when it comes to TV, since we are a digital platform, so what we do is whenever we are running any campaigns, and especially if we are running impact campaigns, what we try to see is if there is a particular time band in which we have run an impact campaign. Say, for example, we are running Big Boss, and on the weekend we have an integration. We do integrations at certain times also. So during that day, once the program went live, after that for the next 6 hours, was there an uptick in our app installs? Were there installs which were increasing, and what was the quality of those installs? So we are able to check that. And when you start plotting this data over days, weeks, months, quarters, and you start doing a regression on them, you're very easily able to see which genres, which programs work well for you, and then you're able to isolate them and start refining on your TV media plans. Otherwise, there is no specific way to do it, just the way you will do digital. But TV, that's the way we generally try to do.
Right. Puneet, just moving on, has there's always a pre-pandemic time and there's a post-pandemic time, right? Everything kind of our entire lives changed. So, from your perspective, and if we look at it from a television perspective, has there been a change in the way you are approaching television advertising? Has there been a change in the kind of the viewers and your consumers patterns? What have you seen a difference, or you feel it's all back to normal, back to pre-pandemic times?
And it's a great question actually, and difficult to answer at that as well. What we have seen is that for TV, I think the habit is back to pretty much where it was. Though when you look at all the data which is available, it also kind of points to the fact that viewership is shifting from TV, and overall GRPs on the networks is going down on a sustained basis to more online medium, whether it is OTT, whether it is OLVs or digital, Facebooks and YouTubes of the world. So there is a shift in the media, and I think that is where we see a lot more. Even the investment wise, if you see overall, the investments for digital is going up on a sustained basis, and the number of hours spent on phone or online versus on TV is also kind of getting skewed. Having said that, like I said, despite all that, the prime time of TV and the key GEC continues to be a property which is worth, trying out and giving a shot at, because that gives you the maximum reach and, like I said, a very attentive audience, because they're coming to appointment viewership. The pitfall of some of these medium, the other digital medium and online medium, is that, and this I'm just doing a comparison so that we get a sense of where TV still holds its own. The OTT platform or the online platforms. The challenge there is I cannot target that specifically. For example, in a TV plan, I can have top 10 programs, top 15 programs of my choice, right? While in case of an OTT or a OLV plan, I'm struggling to get that, right? It is not appointment viewership. So, and if I'm going for a program sponsorship like a KBC or Big Boss, then anyways it is pretty similar to what I'm doing on TV. So costs are not very different. So I think overall there is still a skew of advantage towards TV. But over the next 3-4 years, you may just see that it is coming on parity or kind of starting to reduce. I think that's where it might be heading in a way, Uday.
Great, thanks. I can see Shankar standing there. He does. I told him not to ring the bell, so just a couple of minutes more. But so, Arjun, I just wanted to come back to you on the fact while Puneet talked about this, how the changes have happened post-pandemic. Also, the other shift is in the what we call the generation alpha, right? I mean, the youngsters, the digitally savvy audiences. So, how do you, as far like, and that's also a segment that you also target, right? As they grow older, that's the future segment for you, right? So, how do you kind of fine tune your TV strategies to kind of reach out to this audience, which is digitally most savvy? And I will come back to you, Kishan, on this from a television broadcaster perspective.
Okay, so there are two parts to this. One is, in terms of what they believe in and what they don't believe in. So that is, that has been solved by the communication that we are looking at. But when it comes to mediums, I think the younger generation which is coming, they are into a lot more into experience. They don't like to be given too much of advocacy. So they can very easily spot something which is over the top or sounding fake, unlike when we were younger and we were more amenable to any kind of inspiration that came. Today's generation does not get swayed that easily. So for us, obviously digital is very critical, and influencer marketing, content which is much more relevant for the Gen Z audience, which is more relevant for us right now, works. When it comes to TV, what we are seeing nowadays is that generic ads really don't work. While we continue to do that to build reach and awareness, but whenever we do something which is a little bit more integrated into the content that is coming out, so which is more than just just sponsoring or just impact, if we are integrating into the shows, that sounds more authentic and real, and that captures attention better. In my view, that we have seen that work better. But obviously you also need bandwidth to do that. There is how much that you can do, right, over there, unlike just placing spots in your channel. So yeah, but that's the way to go, to have meaningful integrations.
So it's a very, very important and very valid question, right? Because from my limited understanding, television, and especially the genre that I represent, which is general entertainment, by definition, it is general. So it has to appeal to all kinds of audiences, right? So that's the challenge that, as a broadcaster, I face. But I think the fundamental of content creation doesn't change, because the fundamental of content creation is always deep rooted in how your content reflects human truth, right? How is your content mirroring what is the reality of the society? So if you do that, then it is easy for you to make those shifts and changes in relation to the audience that you're. So for example, in our broadcast, in my business, there are 4 content pillars, right? There is fiction, which is everyday content that goes out to people. There is non-fiction, which is reality, game shows, and all of that. There are movies, and then there is events and all of these things, right? In each of these, we try to bring the new age consumers' point of views and realities there, right? For example, when you're making fiction, for example, we run 12 daily shows, right? 8 of the shows, heroines are less than 24, 25 years old. Now, when we do that, we do extensive research to understand what are their attitudes and all that about life, about marriage, about work, about education, and all of that. And we try to bring that through instances and storylines and all of that so that we are closer to them, right? It is always a work in progress, right? In non-fiction, for example, when we make shows like Big Boss and all of that, we try to ensure that we represent them. So, for example, in the weekend episodes, when Mr. Mohanlal comes and does the weekend episodes, we ensure that we listen to social media, we get comments from them, and we bring it back onto the show so that they feel represented. They feel like, okay, my reality is happening, and it's been brought back to, right? Even in case of new formats, so we have to be always inventing, keeping the business in mind. We can, any large disruption is also not easy, right? So we kind of make those kind of disruptions. When we buy movies, we ensure that we do a mix of older audience liking movies versus also, for example, we purchased a movie called Vara, which is a smash hit among younger audiences, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-olds. So we have a certain percentage of such movies every year so that we know that such audiences come back to the channel. And so that's the only way we can do that, and it's always a work in progress. It is, you keep doing it again and again, and then you learn, right? So that's the way you kind of do. And even in events, even you do large shows and all of that, for example, we ensure that there is a large amount of digital, like my recent show, which is the music reality show, the anchor is one of the biggest digital influencer. So by bringing her on board as the anchor of the television show, you are kind of combining both the universes, right? And the language that she speaks is more in line with what they want to hear and things like that. So you keep doing these bits and pieces, learn, and then you kind of keep consolidating that. That's the way you do it, but not easy. Very. And if somebody says that we can do it, it is rough. It is really tough because your core audience is always older. You cannot alienate them. So it's always this balancing act that you do, and hope that it works.
Yeah, you're right. So I think the balancing act, as you said, and to kind of continuously adapt to the audience changes is, I think that's the future for television. I don't think we have time beyond this. So thanks a lot for being such a great co-panelist, and thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, moderator and the panelist. Now I request Mr. Deepak Karnani, founder, Study One Media Private Limited, to please come onto the stage to give away the memento to moderator and panelist. Yes. Yes, we'll have a group photo session.
I'd like to start by congratulating Shankar and Fourth Dimension Media for hosting yet another